Welcome back. There's new concern growing over a controversial executive order issued by President Biden relating to the role of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the development of artificial intelligence technology. So the order, titled Embedding Equity into Government-Wide Processes, reads in part, when designing, developing, acquiring, and using artificial intelligence and automated systems in the federal government, agencies shall do so consistent with applicable law in a manner that advances equity. Could this lead to discrimination in the name of diversity? We're going to bring in Wade Miller. He is the former chief of staff for Texas Congressman Chip Roy, and he serves as the executive editor for Citizens Renewing America. Wade, walk me through this. Do you see it opening the door to the federal government putting serious decisions such as hiring or the distribution of federal aid in the hands of machines? And will this lead to discrimination?
It absolutely will, and thanks for having me on. So when the left is talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, they're not talking about ensuring that 50% of college professors are conservative as opposed to 90% of them being liberal. They're talking about identity politics. They really want to get into race, sex, and gender as characteristics which must be affirmatively elevated over other people who are perceived oppressors. People who are not, labeled as aggrieved minorities. And so I realized that AI wasn't going to quite know how to maneuver around this right now, because if the federal government is saying that decisions based on race, sex, and gender will be used in hiring decisions or benefits or trainings, they are running afoul of various titles of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. They're essentially eliminating LBJ's Executive Order 11246, which prohibits all of those activities. And AI predictably tried to, it went out and it searched for all of the applicable literature on this, and it came back and essentially said that, yes, it would in part make decisions based on those characteristics. That's illegal. And the left is going to continue to use a Mott and Bailey approach where they will say that this is really just an innocent, we just want different perspectives. But the reality is that that's not how it will actually manifest itself at the ground level. It never does. They use the same trick with how we talk about CRT and trying to say that that wasn't nefarious, and we now know that it is. And so we've got a real problem on our hands if they're going to rely on AI that is using its algorithms to collect information that is being cultivated from all of these woke college universities and literature based on what DEI is. That's going to inherently require a government to be racist and discriminatory. And of course, that is illegal under current law, but that's where we're heading.
All right, so Wade, you actually put your theories to the test and had a conversation with OpenAI's ChatGPT regarding DEI programs. Now, you asked the ChatGPT head about the issue of race in federal hiring practices. It tried to skate around the question by saying race should never be the sole or primary factor in hiring. Then you pointed out, admitted race is nonetheless a factor in its reply, causing it to crash. Would you consider that interaction that you had with ChatGPT an indictment of AI's ability to make unbiased decisions? And is AI active? Are we seeing discrimination in this active AI programming?
Yes, and again, it is cultivating its information from sources that are inherently biased and are not being fully truthful. So if I were to sit down in front of a committed leftist, they would know how to avoid a lot of the things that ChatGPT admitted. But what ChatGPT is doing is it is telling you the truth. It is telling you what radical leftists don't want to admit, which is absolutely they want to use racial discrimination for the purposes of equity and sex-based discrimination for the purposes of equity to what they would say is level set the playing field and give other people opportunity. But what they're really doing is they're harming other people based on immutable characteristics. And that is not what the United States should stand for. It's against federal law. And what I would like to know is the Biden administration saying that LBJ's Executive Order 11246 is now revoked? Are they saying that the government should not affirmatively oppose race and sex-based discrimination in federal practices? Because that seems like the direction we're going, and that certainly seems what Biden's new executive order on DEI is indicating.
Yeah, fascinating times that we're living in right now that we're having this discussion. Wade Miller, thank you so much for your time. We'll continue to follow this story.
Thanks for having me.